What's going on, YouTube? It's Jaden. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to talk about the last 30 days and how it's been the biggest step that I've ever taken inside of online business. Now, what I mean by that is I've actually started doing sales management, and this is a whole new field for me. I've been able to, help this team that I'm managing generate over $80,000 in a single month. And I took their AOV from $1,100 to $1,400, and the show up rate that was 80% to 90%. Now, yes, those are all good and impressive numbers, but I'm going to show you exactly how I was able to position myself to even get blessed with an opportunity like this. And this video is going to be for those people who are in the sales reps or agency owners that just clicked on this video just to get more information. But I'm going to show you the exact processes, the systems that I've used to help us go from help us generate $80,000 this month alone. And with that, it's going to be some of the things that worked, some of the things that didn't work, some of the lessons that I learned, and some of the things that I've seen other sales managers do that I personally have done differently and have worked out for me. One thing that I want you guys to at least keep in mind is that ever since I got into this position of sales management, I've had to look at the game of high ticket sales in a whole very different space. Now, one, I have the perspective of a actual sales rep, and then two, the perspective of an actual agency owner. Now, I've done a little bit of growth operating in the past. I know how systems, the funnels work, things like that. So I'm very well versed in terms of how those things go. But in terms of actually managing a full-on sales team, now I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a learning process, but I'm glad I was able to make mistakes very, very early on, see exactly what I needed to learn in order to really see success with this business. And like some of those things are just like how to figure out the right KPIs, how to hire and fire the right people, how to maintain hitting those KPIs. All while still closing at the same time. Now, like I'm saying, it was still a bit of a process in terms of everything that I did have to manage. A big thing that I had to figure out as well was just the overall having to even motivate a team, even to get these people to really respect you and listen to you because you're coming from a place of an actual authoritative figure. Now, some of the very first things that I did notice as soon as I started at least being in the sales management position from this agency standpoint is that there was a lot of holes in their system as well. Like there wasn't a place where the whole team can communicate. There wasn't daily team meetings. There wasn't set standard KPIs, and there wasn't trainings for these sales reps. Now, essentially what I did when I went into the business is that first I helped them build out a whole back-end system in terms of being able to communicate, in order to set up the zaps, in order to make sure these, let's just say for instance, the payment notifications, the EOCs, the EODs, things like that. I had to figure out all of that in terms of the back end, making sure that everybody's on the same page in terms of communication, things like that. Another thing that I had to implement as well is daily training. So each sales rep has to bring a call to the trainings. That way we can review it and we can all get better. And then after that, role play, and of course ask any sort of questions that people may be wondering, right? I can't read minds, so being able to ask questions, being able to role play, I'm going to be able to point out some of those things that I see that's helped me in my sales journey. Now, the reason why we are able to go from 80 to 90%, and granted 80% is good, 90% is good. One of the setters actually had I believe 92% show up rate. I'll go ahead and pop up the screenshot. I believe 92% show up rate. And mind you, this was his very first time in terms of ever being, because he was a setter in the past, but he was DM setting. Now being able to be the top setter in terms of the whole entire team. So he was able to do that. And simply, because I showed him the exact framework that I've used personally to get to where I am today. So it's the thing that goes into the framework is just asking gap building questions, making sure that these people know that they have a call, and then 3, making sure that you're following up with these people in terms of making sure that they see the resources, making sure they know their call is an hour before, confirming on time, and then also letting the closer know that they confirmed. All these things play a huge part just to make sure that everybody is, communicating. I think communication is one of the biggest things that can either make or break a info product team, because I've been on offers where the communication is very bad between the offer owner, the guy that's bringing in the leads, and the setters, because the setters are the people that are in the mud, in the dirt every single day, talking to a lot of these people, and they're gonna have the biggest feedback. So being able to consistently speak to these people is what allowed me to scale this team and above and beyond. Now, how I was able to increase the AOV, and granted, it went from 1100 to 1400. Obviously, it's still rising now. I believe I'll pop up a screenshot on what is the highest. I'll pop up a screenshot again, like right here, something to show you what the highest is, what it is right now. But it is steadily rising in terms of the AOV, and the things that I had to do in order to make sure that each and every single person that comes in is spending a little bit more is, one, making sure that our deliverables are sound and set and can be pretty much undeniable when it comes to, okay, this is why I'm paying that price, right? So making sure that people understand the actual value, what comes with actually paying that sort of price. And then two, always pitching the highest amount first, and then working our way down from there, getting any sort of payment plans or anything like that. That's like last case scenario, but trying to make sure that every single person that hops on the call is piffable. And that's pretty much what I've changed, because people would automatically go in, let's just say on the setter's notes, these people have 1500. People before the closers would only be pitching that 1500. So now being able to pitch somebody that has a 1500 to 4K, they're gonna have some more money, right? And I believe that sometimes if you're just getting no objections, people are gonna have a little bit more money to spend, unless you absolutely pre-handle their objections. Obviously, if you do a good job, you'll pre-handle them regardless, but they may be able to spend a little bit more money if you push for that PIF. If it's the case where they don't have the actual money, then that's cool. That means you did your job, you pre-handled. But if you didn't try to test the waters, why not? Why not try to get a little bit of extra commission for you, for your team, etc. So another topic I kind of said, the firing process was something that I really had to nail in, right? I hired on 4 reps in total over the last 60 days, and I've had to let go 2 of them, right? So obviously that's not like crazy numbers or anything like that, but it's just a matter of actually knowing what sales reps can handle, and just not overpopulating the team. I'm a big believer in making sure that if you're a sales rep, you can earn the most amount of commission. I've been in the position where, as a setter, closer, I'm not earning the commission that I want to, simply because the team is super big. So if I'm able to limit the team, make sure that it's as small as possible, that way these people have a reason why to work, it's going to make them want to work harder, because they're going to be able to make more money. So the biggest thing was just hiring on the right people, hiring on a small amount of people, and actually being able to gauge the influx of leads. Now, moving forward, how I like to operate is when it gets to a point where we're physically, not clearing out the pipeline every day, we're not being able to follow up with every single lead, then that is when I will be able to actually follow up, or actually, start hiring on people. Of course, I'm always still looking for killers out there, because there's always going to be people, I might start managing a different offer or things like that. That's going to allow me to need to bring on A players, essentially. And I think having A players, the difference that separates an A player from somebody that's just, a sales rep, is somebody that's, tracking their numbers, making sure that they're hitting KPIs, very communicative. And, some of these things you can do as a sales manager in terms of KPIs. I'm making sure that, I made like a kind of checklist that these setters can actually go ahead and track their commissions in terms of what do they need to do in terms of input wise to get the output that they're looking for. And when you show somebody an exact roadmap, it's going to allow those people to know what they need to hit each and every single day to make those numbers that they want to hit. Another thing in terms of the firing process is just, making sure that any sort of bad negative energy, because I've hired on a sales rep that I literally had to like immediately let go, because his energy was just something that I personally, I thought at the beginning, oh yeah, he might be able to collaborate with, the team, things like that. But like seeing him operate in terms of a group status, it just does not work with everything. And just that's the biggest thing for me. Like, right, this is like the same thing of a basketball team. You don't want that one dude that just doesn't pass the ball, that doesn't swing the rock, or that just is late to practice, things like that. Because when you have that type of negative effect on your team, everybody else is going to start slacking. And I want my team to be as sharp as humanly possible. That way we can all make as much money as humanly possible. And I mean, I think the biggest thing that's kind of separates a dog as well, like those A players, is somebody that's coachable, that follows, that I can actually tell them something and they can actually very much implement it just like that. People that are disciplined, and then people that are actually just here to win. Don't mind the pin falling, but people that are actually here just to win. I know I didn't mention this as well, but another thing that I had to implement as well is a major CRM update. So what that means is I came into their system, looked at their CRM, knew that they weren't having these calls like recorded, knew that they weren't sending out text blasts, things like that. Those jobs, I think, because just from being my standpoint, I have that expertise knowing that SMS blasts, call recordings, that's going to allow you to get as much cash as humanly possible. Because if you have a list of 5,000 people, you can go ahead and blast 200-300 people a day and get those people on the calendar on the same day, and then you're just maximizing cash flow. So I mean, that was pretty much what I was doing in terms of that. And just making sure that the CRM, that we had the pipelines that was needed, we had the follow-up sequences, so when somebody books in a call, that they're getting hit with these texts, they're getting the link straight to their phone and email. That way there was no possible way that we could also lose that show up rate and lose that kind of that lose out on like particular deals. So just making sure that we're limiting as much things as possible, and I think that's what I really did in terms of this last like month, 2 months. I think a big thing as well that a lot of agency owners just don't do is actually being able to incentivize reps. Like one of my reps, we literally, if you were the top sales rep, had the highest close rate, had the highest show up rate, we would give you an extra $750. Now, that's just one of the bonuses, but we would give you an extra $750 if depending on your performance, right? Obviously it fluctuates. The less that you do, the less kind of bonuses that you get. But I mean, if you're able to incentivize these people to go out and get more bread, and then incentivize them on top of that, where you're giving them some extra bread, it's only going to want to make people work even harder. So like my whole mindset that I think makes me different from like obviously other people that have been in the game a little bit longer than me, that I've seen like the trenches in terms of setting, in terms of closing, and I know what that takes upon you, at least mentally, that you need to have somebody that's been through like those kind of trenches, because they'll understand where the sales reps are coming from and what can actually motivate them to make sure that the business is flowing as just as good as possible. So I mean, what comes with that, making sure that the business flows as best as possible, is creating like leaderboards, making sure that you're showing up to the calls with call reviews that are non-negotiable. Like each and every single day, like I have sales reps talk to me about what do you think about this call? What do you think about this call? Do you have any sort of pointers? And if you're naturally just going to be that hungry, there's no way that everybody's not going to be making more money, But I mean, like I'm not going to sit here and just say that everything that I did learn was just sunshines and rainbows, because it honestly wasn't. Like the biggest thing that I do think I did learn was just like I don't want to be that person that's just micromanaging, the person that's just doing too many check-ins, making sure that they're just over monitoring you or just hovering over you, because that's not going to be efficient in the workspace. Everybody got into this space, I think, to not have that person just hovering over them, and especially me. Like I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to just sit here and be hovering over them. Obviously, yes, making sure these people are doing KPIs, hitting their daily goals, but not to the point where it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, that just doesn't help the team as a whole. And, I'd rather be able to focus on back end issues, putting out the small fires, and just overall seeing a bigger picture on how I can, or how everybody can make more and more money each and every single day. And I think the biggest thing for me is like, obviously I had a couple people that were in the sales managing space that I talked to before, but not copying their whole entire system, because what I like to go by, especially in sales, it's very day by day, and you need to know exactly everything that's happening day by day. So like how I operate is I take everything one day at a time. Like, did we get 1% better today? Did we get 1% worse? And through that, it's been allowing me to actually spot a lot of holes in the system. Maybe, I'm noticing like a significant lead loss, right? Like, are the links correct or something like that? Like, just pointing that sort of stuff out, because at least the marketing team or the growth operator can see I'm actually putting in work and noticing changes. Because I believe if, like what I ran into, if I don't put out these fires on day one, that could lead to a problem 2-3 weeks down the line. And if I see consistent problems, then it's on my end, and then it makes me look like I'm not doing my work. So just seeing, like, day by day, what can I actually implement to make sure that these fires can already be put out before they even happen. Now, just to kind of at least wrap up this video, I don't want to yap for too much now. And I know I gave you all some like pretty good sauce, but the biggest metrics that I am taking in consideration, like every single day, that I think any agency owner can immediately implement is, one, how many leads are coming in each and every day to how many sales are we getting, knowing that direct correlation, like the value per lead. And then two, the show rate, obviously, the AOV, the close rate by each individual rep, and then like the essentially the sales velocity, in terms of like what do we do that makes an influx of of changes on the leads. Because if I'm able to know all of those like realistic data points, I'm able to help out the marketing team, the growth operator, as best as possible to make sure that everybody's making most amount of money that they can, right? So if I know these numbers, like, and I'm able to show them each and every single day, it's gonna allow the marketing team to know which individual things that we should be able to push to make sure that we're converting leads on the back end. Now, this next month and a half coming first is we're gonna be around my like 1 year mark. Like, next month marks my 1 year mark of actually being able, like, in this space, info, not sales, but info for a year. And I'm glad to see like exactly where I have come in terms of like purchasing my first mentorship, in terms of like all the people that I have met along the way. Like, I'm extremely blessed to even be able to be in this position, to be managing a team that's doing 80K per month, and then I'm managing another team that did 30K last month. So I'm extremely blessed to just be around that. All right, so like I was saying, just extremely blessed to be in this scenario where just everything's falling into place a little bit under a year, or basically a year under. Everything's kind of falling in place right now, and essentially like that's pretty much it for the whole entire video. I know I did go through a lot of kind of sauce, or just a little bit of everything that I have been doing for like the past 30 days or a month and a half or so. So if you are a sales rep, have any sort of questions or anything like that, feel free to DM me, of course, with any sort of questions, video ideas. If I have any topics in particular that you guys do want to kind of talk about, just DM me and I'll go ahead and answer those questions as well. But that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you guys have a nice day. Yeah, catch you.